Hello again, this is UML Operator. In the previous clip, we purchased, downloaded, installed Sparx Enterprise Architect. We opened Sparx EA, and we opened the EA example that Sparx provided for us, and to let you play with Sparx and everything that it can do, from basic modeling to simulation and much more. Okay, so we have Sparx Enterprise Architect open. And what we're going to do is we're going to load a project. Let's load our demo project. So we're in the default layout. So browser's on the left, properties is on the upper right, notes is on the lower right, and we have the ribbon displayed as well as the navigator. These are the things we've learned so far. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to step through Sparx, top to bottom, left to right. Okay, so we've got Sparx Enterprise Architect running. Let's load a project. We're going to use the project we used in the previous session. So our little demo play area, and we're in the default layout. Browser on the left, work area in the middle, properties on the upper right, notes on the lower right. This is all we have loaded as far as windows and tooling right now. So we're going to work top to bottom, left to right. And in Sparx 16, we got a really cool set of tools available to us to help quickly get to different views that we need to work in specific subject areas. All right, so right now, let's go ahead and load demo. I already have it loaded. All right, well, let's load it again, right? And let's just open up a sample diagram. Okay, so let's say we're working along and we're building different models and views, maybe working between various diagrams as we are modeling, right? So this is my entire display. I just have Sparx set as a window in the display, and I'm going to go up here on this very first item, maximize the main window, right? And most other windows. I'm going to select it. So it maximizes Sparx, and it focuses just in the work area. There's no other tooling around here. So it gives me very quickly a very wide modeling area. There's no tools that are available right now. You know, I could bring tools in, and then I can put this window anywhere I want. Let's get it out of the way. But let's load a toolbar. I don't have a toolbox loaded, so now I have a floating toolbox window that I could put anywhere I want. On the right and left, top, bottom, I can put it anywhere. We'll cover this customizing your workspace in a later video, but I'm just doing this for demo purposes. So I'm going to select this again, and I'm going to go back to the previous layout. And there we go. We're back to the default layout, which was the previous layout. And we've cleaned up. Is toolbox still floating around? Let me minimize this again, resize it. No, it is not, right? I have to have that set in the workspace that I've configured for my modeling, right? The next selection right here is workspaces. So it pops up the workspace layout so you can choose very quickly. In another video, as I'm going through the ribbon and workspaces, you can get to workspace right here, and then you can have custom workspaces. You can get to it that way. But another way is just selecting this. Look at that, I've got workspaces up. So I'm able to very quickly get to various workspaces like browse and any of the other system factory layouts or workspaces they have. So right now, just browse and the work area are exposed here. I'm going to select it again. We're going to go back to default, and it will load the default layout. There we go. We're back in the default layout. You can quickly go to this. Again, we're going to talk about this in another video. You can create your own custom layouts. This happens to be my common layout that I use. I like browser over on the upper right, notes in the lower right. I like toolbox loaded and my work area. And then I have various tabs. Again, we'll talk about this in another video, but I'm going to go back to default layout. So you can very quickly move between workspaces for the various things that you're going to be doing in Sparx EA modeling platform. All right, the next selection is the actual menu for customizing your quick access. So Here you can turn these first two that we just talked about on and off. I don't like the full screen one. If I accidentally click it, it maximizes it and it doesn't allow me to set it back if I minimize or reset. So I don't have that one turned on, but I love this one. So I have this one on and off. If I hit the down, I can actually turn that off and then just have the other choices within customizing my quick access. So I like workspaces on, so I'm going to click it back on. Right, your next selections are more commands. I can select it. I can get to this dialog box that allows me to do some other work, customizing my keyboard, get to tools. Again, we'll cover these in a later session, right? The next one is show below the ribbon, which basically means you can have this in the title bar or you can show it below this ribbon right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to show below the ribbon. So it moves the quick access toolbar below the ribbon. I like it above the ribbon in the title bar, so I'm going to move it back up. And then the next one is minimize the ribbon, right? So I click this and it minimizes the ribbon. I may not need the ribbon. I can go to these tabs and you can see the ribbon pops up, but I might be working on a notebook, computer, laptop, what have you, smaller screen, tablet, that I want the maximum amount of drawing space that I can get, right? So what I'm going to do is check this off and I got the ribbon back, right? So very nice for quickly getting to things, workspaces, managing your workspace very quickly as you're modeling. All right, let's look at the tabs, top right here, and then we'll get into the ribbons, all right? So what you're going to see is the file manager. I like to call it the project manager. Very quick, you can get to it, new project, open project, reload, etc. Right? So you have some things that are there. You'll notice that that's menu option for Sparx file management, regardless of what tab you're clicked on. Very nice, right? So the first tab is the Start tab. And just as can you imagine, it's everything you need when you're starting a project. We're going to talk about the ribbon a bit more in just a moment, but the ribbon is customized for the tabs. You can see as I'm going across the tabs, the ribbons are customized for it. So you have a ribbon for the tab and you have groups, I like to call them categories, for the ribbon. So the Explore group is in every tab. Look at this. As I'm moving across, the Explore group is locked into each tab. Very nice. I can very quickly get to search. I can get to portals. I can, very quickly get to things and views that I need while I'm working across these tabs. Now, when you first start modeling, you may not be going into the Design tab. You will be going into the Layout tab. You may not be doing coding or development or database design, etc. You may not be in the Development tab. Simulate may be a later subject for you. Execute your code. You can integrate with your integrated development environments, and you can work between the two for unit testing, other testing, etc. Construct. You may not be in this one because you're not doing build and test and construction and release. Specialize. This is a tab eventually you're going to get to, especially when you start building patterns. You may be in that one. Publish, you're going to be in a lot. This is your reporting, publishing, whether you're going out to PDF, Office Word documents, RTF, or HTML. So you'll be in this one a lot. Settings, maybe not in the beginning, but when you get into version control and doing some other things, stereotypes, tag values, playing around with the settings to configure them the way you want, doing exporting, importing. Settings may be something you get to later on. In the tabs, find command. I love the light bulb feature here. You can find things, and I'll talk about this more a little bit later on. All right. So Start tab, Layout, and Publish are the three tabs that you want to familiarize yourself with as quickly as possible. We're going to get in detail on each one of these tabs and their ribbons in later sessions. So in the Start tab, just like any of the ribbons, you have tools and features that are available for you to do things, all right? And then you have groups or categories for those ribbons. All windows, you're able to actually get into adding things like the toolbox. You can hit design again and choose other features like trace or traceability. You can very quickly open up things that you just want access to. Here's the navigator bar. I turned it off. Go back to design, navigator bar, turn it back on. That's the navigator bar. So you can very quickly get to things. Again, workspaces we've covered just a second ago. This is another way to get to workspaces. And it's just a pop-up, right? When I go into a particular group, it's just a pop-up. If I mouse over, it closes, because you'll notice that there's not an X to close it. Just move focus away from it and it will close automatically. Appearance, we're going to be talking about this in another session. This is customizing your appearance. Collaborate, we'll talk about this in another session. Very powerful, not necessarily in a single user local environment, but when you move into a SQL environment, you might have a SQL server in your office or in the cloud. You might be in cloud. You might be working with outside databases other than the local SQLite database that's under Sparx. This becomes very powerful. We'll talk about personalizing and doing personal modeling work. Here's help. You're going to be using this a lot. You can get the help, a plethora of help subjects and search to the home page, libraries. You can get to registering your license and so on. I'm not going to select this. This is register your product keys if you haven't already done so during the load. You might be in a trial version. You're into the 30 days. You're going to buy it. You're going to register it. You can click right there, right? And then help, all right? This is the group. So that one is only in the Start tab. Again, I'm going to get into it more detail, but you're going to get to a point where you're using layout a lot, especially when you're organizing elements. Like if you wanted to organize these two elements to the left, there you go. To the top, there you go. You want to move them evenly apart, there you go. So there's a lot of things you can do using alignment group within the layout tab. You can deal with the fonts of particular items. You can change the fonts, the size of things, the color of lines, lots of things you can do in layout. I think you're going to be in layout a lot. We'll talk about this more in detail as we're progressing. Okay, the navigator bar, navigation bar. I talk about another video. I'm going to skip over that one. Very powerful. Watch that video. All right, so browser. Talk about this quite a bit. I'll get into more details, but this is everything in your SQLite database for your modeling project. Right now, I have a root folder. I have a folder underneath the root folder. Actually, I have two packages or folders or namespaces underneath the root folder, right? In here, I've got a diagram. Here it is. I got an asterisk next to the diagram name because I made some changes. If I hit Control S, the asterisk goes away. I just saved to the database. I have a couple of elements. Here they are. Same in test. I've got multiple diagrams here. No diagram elements. So the browser allows you to very quickly move through your project data by how you have your packages, your folders, your namespaces set. In the browser, you're allowed to move packages underneath other packages, right? And you can move them back to other packages. So the browser allows you to manage the organization, the structure of the packages within your project, all right? I'm not going to get into context, diagram. Here's just the two diagrams that I have, the elements rather than the diagrams. Resources, I'm going to cover these in later sessions. We're going to go back to project, right? I also am going to cover the inspector in another project. So you've got inspector, and you have all sorts of tools that are available and features available for you there. So we're back in the project selection tab within the browser window. And that's what we're talking about in this particular session. All right. So I am going to move this here. I'm going to close Toolbox, and I'm back to where we were earlier. All right. So let me move this back out, and I want to move this up. So in the browser, I have these icons that are available for me. So from this particular point, I can add a new model based on a pattern. So I can come in here and I can pick from various patterns that are there. You can see in the start, it moved to create from pattern, which I don't want to do. The next one is I'm going to create another package. So new package, and then give it a name. I'm just going to take the default name, and I want to create a diagram. So you can select, create a diagram from pattern, create a diagram, choose yourself, or no diagram, just the package itself. Let's create a diagram, right? So I took the package name, package 1, the diagram. I'm going to go ahead and take the default, which is the same name as the package, package 1, and I'm going to choose a class type diagram, right? So you have all these choices, you know, AWS, Archimate, and I could go on and on. Let's just stay a very simple UML structural for this point, and we're going to choose classes, right? So now I have a class diagram using the class toolbox, right? So you can see if I'm in another type of diagram, we're going to go to the next element or menu selection icon in the browser, and that's new diagram. And we're going to add it to this package called package 1, right? In this particular case, I don't want to call it the default name because I'm going to have 2 diagrams saying package 1. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to call this test diagram, right? Give it a name, any name you want. We'll talk about auto-generating names in a later video, right? So I'm just going to hit OK. Now I've created another diagram under this package, and it opens it for me. And I misspelled diagram. I'm going to double click on this is the diagram itself, and I'm going to change the name. There we go. There we go. I could have selected the diagram in browser, hit F2, and I could have fixed the spelling error there. And the other thing I could have done was over in properties. When I do that, I've got the name, and I could fix the spelling error in properties as well. So browser is very powerful, allows you to get to places you want to go very quickly, things you want to do, right? So the next 2 choices are the ability to move whatever I've selected up or down. Let's move package 1, the one we just created in the browser. Let's move it to the bottom, right? Let's move test application down. Now it's below test. If I have these diagrams, if I go to test objects, I want to move test objects up or down. I can use these control, which is going to change the hierarchy of these elements within my browser and write it to the database so the database remembers your selections. All right? All right, let's quickly go back to our default layout. I'm going to use the workspace here. I'm going to select default. It's going to clean things up and get us back to our default factory layout. I have some diagrams that are open here. I'm going to skip over the workspace, the work area in this case, and cover this more details as we're progressing. Let's move to properties. So in properties, everything has properties. Model has a property, package underneath it has a property, and I can manage the properties, right? So everything has a property. The diagram has a property. The elements within the diagram have a property, right? So if I'm in a particular diagram and I select an item, it has properties, right? And I can change names. I can manage the properties. I can even change the type. We'll cover this in another video. We'll cover stereotypes, alias, keywords. We'll cover all that in another session. Metadata, very important about start and end date. Every element has a global unique ID. Good. but every package that's in the database has a global unique ID, right? Every line has a unique ID. It doesn't show in Sparx, but trust me, it has a global unique ID, a reference in the database, right? So as I'm going through these elements, each one of them has a GUID. We'll talk about GUIDs, global unique IDs, more in detail in a later session. All right, this video is already running longer than I wanted, but let's cover the last subject, and that's notes within the layout, the default factory layout. There are many, many more layouts, but we'll cover that in another session. So notes, as it is, it's any data you write for an element, any element under the note. So you can write notes at the package level, so, and get as verbose as you want. So this is, I'm just going to call it something simple. So as soon as I lose focus, I just click on anything. It just wrote that to a database. Let me select and prove it to you. There it goes. I can right click on the item. I can go to properties. I can also get to notes, what we just wrote. I can get to some other data and some other very powerful things you can do. Again, covered in another session. So there's notes on everything. Notes on the diagram, element, associations, any element. As you're moving forward package. So notes is where you're really stepping into modeling, because not many, or I want to say most, I use dozens of modeling and drawing tools, have the ability to store your intelligence in a SQL database, which already opens up an extreme amount of power for extending your intelligence around your visions, your designs, your development, and so on. So very exciting. So here, outside of a drawing tool, just drawing cute pictures in PowerPoint, Visio, or other tools, you're actually drawing pictures and putting as much intelligence as you can think about underneath those pictures, all right? Okay, so let's recap. We covered the customized quick access toolbar, a quick tabs overview with the focus on start, layout, and publish tabs. We briefly touched on the layout capabilities in the Layout tab, a brief ribbon overview, along with quick browser, properties, and notes windows overviews. I hope this session helped. Please leave your comments below. I'm looking forward to feedback, direction that you want to go, and let's share and learn together. So in our next session, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the default workspace layout, factory layout, and we're going to do some light customization to be able to get to other tooling within a default layout that works best for us. So I look forward, talk to you in the next session. Thank you and bye-bye.